Hi everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining us today. We've got a brand new story to share with you, so let's begin. My name is Jake, and for the past 10 years, I was married to a woman named Natalie. If you had asked me a few years ago, I would have told you I had a good marriage. Turns out, I was dead wrong. Natalie was planning to leave me, thinking she'd walk away with half of everything. She thought she had it all figured out. But what she didn't know was that I was 3 steps ahead. I guess if I'm being honest, things weren't always bad between me and Natalie. When we first got together, she was sweet and attentive. Back then, I actually felt like she was proud to be with me. But over time, things changed. She started picking at me. At first, I brushed it off as playful teasing. But then it got worse. She'd compare me to other men, coworkers, friends, even strangers. Why can't you be more ambitious like James? You see how Kevin takes his wife on vacations? Must be nice. Frank always knows how to fix things around the house. You should learn from him. It was always someone else. Someone taller, someone richer, someone better. At some point, I realized that no matter what I did, it was never enough for her. If I worked late, I wasn't making enough money. If I came home early, I didn't have enough drive. If I bought her gifts, I was wasting money. If I didn't, I was neglecting her. There was no winning. And trust me, I tried. The only reason I didn't walk away sooner was because of our daughter. I wasn't about to let my kid grow up in a broken home if I could help it. So I stayed. I put up with the passive-aggressive behaviors. One regular Saturday afternoon, I was sitting in the living room flipping through my phone when my daughter walked up to me with that hopeful little smile kids get when they're about to ask for something. "Daddy, can we get ice cream?" she asked, eyes wide, already trying to win me over. I chuckled and shook my head. "Sweetheart, you know ice cream isn't good for you all the time. Too much sugar." It was something I'd told her 100 times before. But this time, instead of pouting or trying to negotiate like she usually did, she just shrugged and said, "But Uncle Ben always gets me ice cream." Everything in me went still. I forced myself to stay calm, to act normal. But who the hell was Uncle Ben? Trying to keep my voice light, I asked, "Oh yeah, who's Uncle Ben?" She didn't even hesitate. "Mummy's friend. He comes when you're at work or when you go on your trips. He buys me ice cream and cookies." I was speechless. A kid her age doesn't lie about things like that, especially not with that much casual honesty. In her mind, there was nothing wrong. I forced a smile. "Oh, I see. That's nice of him." She nodded and ran off to play, but I just sat there. My wife, Natalie, had a male friend who came over when I wasn't around. I didn't ask her about it right away. Instead, I did something better. I started paying attention to Natalie's behavior, and that's when I noticed some things. She was leaving the house a lot more than usual, always claiming she had some errand to run, but she'd be gone for hours. Trips to the gym that somehow lasted half the day. Sudden plans with friends she never mentioned before. And whenever I asked simple questions like, "Where did you go?" or "Why did that take so long?" she'd get defensive, like I had no right to even ask. Her phone became another red flag. It was always on silent, always flipped face down on the table. She'd take it with her everywhere, even to the bathroom. If it rang while we were in the same room, she'd rush to pick it up and walk away before answering. It was clear she didn't want me anywhere near her phone. And the few times I casually glanced over, I'd see her quickly swiping notifications away, like she didn't want me seeing who was texting. That was new. We never had secrets before, but now it felt like she was hiding an entirely separate life from me. And her attitude? It was like she had flipped a switch. Every little thing I did irritated her. She started picking fights over the smallest things. And I noticed something strange. These arguments always seemed to happen right before she needed to get some air or had to step out for a bit. It was like she was looking for an excuse to leave the house, and the easiest way to do that was by making me the bad guy. When I never suspected her of infidelity, I kept trying to fix things. I'd ask her what was wrong, if she was stressed, if something was bothering her. But every time I tried, she shut me down. But when I started observing these patterns, I stopped asking. One night, I was sitting at the desk in our bedroom, trying to jot down some notes, when I realized my pen had run out of ink. I glanced around, looking for a spare, And that's when I saw Natalie's handbag sitting open on the dresser. I reached inside, my fingers brushed against something small and plastic. I pulled it out without thinking. It was a prescription bottle. At first, I barely even registered what I was holding. The name of the medication didn't ring a bell, so I grabbed my phone, typed it into Google, and within seconds, I got something. The medication was used to treat sexually transmitted diseases. I hadn't been with Natalie in months. If she was taking this, it could only mean one thing. Natalie was sleeping with someone else. I heard the water shut off in the bathroom. I put the bottle back, exactly where I found it. I didn't want her to know what I had just discovered. Instead of confronting her, he plays along. Texas is a fault-based divorce state, meaning if I could prove her infidelity, she wouldn't just lose her claim to alimony. She could even end up paying me damages. That realization changed everything. Instead of reacting, I decided to set a trap. The first thing I did in the days that followed was hire a divorce lawyer, someone who specialized in cases like this. He laid out exactly what I needed, proof that would hold up in court. That's when I brought in a private investigator. It took over a month before the PI came back with results, and what he found confirmed my suspicions. She wasn't just cheating, she was bold about it. There were photos of her meeting this guy at places. But the worst part? She had the audacity to bring him into our home. Yeah, you heard that right. When I was at work, she would invite him over. The PI had timestamps of photos and videos showing the guy's car parked in front of our house on multiple occasions. At that point, any lingering feelings I had for her were gone. This was disrespectful. And then there was our daughter. I always suspected she was neglecting her, but now I started seeing just how bad it was. She would leave for hours, sometimes missing bedtime entirely, just to be with him. She was absent. My lawyer made it clear. If I could prove that she was neglecting our child, I could file for full custody. And that's exactly what I planned to do. At this point, she had no idea what was coming. She thought she had me fooled. But in reality, I was already building my case, piece by piece, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Concerning finance, Natalie wouldn't hesitate to bleed me dry. So I made my move by transferring all my major assets into accounts under my daughter's name. I set them up as college savings funds and structured them legally as inheritance accounts. On paper, everything now belonged to my daughter. And since those accounts were strictly for her future, Natalie couldn't touch a dime. It wasn't as simple as just moving money around. I consulted with a lawyer to make sure everything was airtight, and once it was done, there was no reversing it. This wasn't about being petty. It was about protecting what I had worked for. If I left everything in our joint accounts and asked Natalie for divorce, she would have had every right to claim half of it, maybe even more if she played her cards right. As far as it was set aside for our daughter's future, the money wasn't mine anymore. All I have to do is end up as my daughter's legal custodian of her accounts. I will still have full control. One night, after yet another argument, Natalie finally said the words I had been waiting to hear. I want a divorce. She folded her arms and stared at me, expecting me to beg, to panic, to fight for her. But I didn't. I had been ready for this moment long, before she even thought about saying it out loud. I wanted out just as badly, maybe even more. Instead of arguing back, I just smiled and said, "Okay." That one word threw her off. She blinked, like she hadn't expected it to be that easy. She thought she had the upper hand. In her mind, she was about to walk away with half of everything, plus alimony to keep her comfortable. She had no idea that I had spent months preparing for this exact moment. The next morning, before she could even start talking about how we should divide things fairly, I had my lawyer send her the divorce papers. She was still in her robe when she opened the envelope at the breakfast table. I watched as her expression changed. Her world collapsed in real time. The papers outlined everything. Not only was she not getting alimony, she might even have to pay me damages. For the first time in a long time, she was speechless. She looked at me, eyes wide, as if seeing me for the first time. When the divorce proceedings started, Natalie still carried herself like she had everything under control. She probably thought there would be a way out. But she was wrong. The private investigator had done a thorough job, There were photos with timestamps of her meeting her lover at various locations. And when the court saw it, there was no denying what had been going on. Then came the kicker, the STD medication I took photos of at night. I remember the way her face turned pale when my lawyer presented it. There it was, documented proof that she had been treating an infection she sure as hell didn't get for me. The judge didn't even try to hide his disapproval. Texas is a fault-based divorce state, which means if one spouse is caught cheating, it completely changes the outcome of the case. She was the one who broke our vows. She lost her right to alimony. She had expected a payday. Instead, she got nothing. And to top it all off, because her affair directly led to the divorce, there was a chance she would even have to pay me damages. But the worst blow for her, the one that really shattered her, was when the court ruled on custody. My lawyer laid everything out. The night she left our daughter home alone to meet her lover, the reckless spending, the way she prioritized her affair over her own family. The judge didn't hesitate. He saw her for exactly what she was, an unfit mother. Full custody was awarded to me. No shared parenting, no weekends, no back-and-forth arrangement. Natalie was reduced to a visitor in her own child's life. I had already moved into accounts under our daughter's name, other major assets like the house, structured in a way she couldn't touch. By the time the ruling came down, she had nothing left. When we walked out of that courtroom, she wasn't the same woman who had confidently asked for a divorce. I won't lie, there was a time when I might have taken her back and fixed things for the sake of our daughter. But that time is long gone. I see things clearly now. Some mistakes can't be undone, and some people only regret their actions when they realize the consequences. That's exactly what happened to Natalie. At first, she tried to act like she didn't care. The moment she realized she wasn't getting a dime from me, that she was losing custody, that she had nothing to fall back on, suddenly, she wasn't so sure about leaving. She started calling, sending long messages about how we had so many good years together, how she made a mistake, how our daughter needed both of us. But where was that concern for our family when she was sneaking around? Where was all that regret when she was lying to my face, treating me like I wasn't good enough? I stayed firm. She tried every trick in the book, guilt, fake remorse, even blaming me for not fighting for our marriage. But you can't fight for something that the other person already set on fire. She was never sorry about what she did. She was sorry she got caught, and even sorrier that I didn't let her walk away with the life she thought she deserved. Now, I'm free. And not just legally, mentally, emotionally, financially. I can finally focus on my daughter, on building a life where I don't have to walk on eggshells or wonder what lie I'm being told today. I learned a lot from this. First, never ignore the signs. If something feels off, trust your instincts. Second, always protect yourself, emotionally and financially. If I hadn't taken the steps I did, I would have been the one left with nothing. And third, some people only respect you when they realize they can't take advantage of you anymore. So what do you guys think? Did I handle it the right way? What would you have done if you were in my shoes? Let me know in the comments. And remember, she thought she was playing me. Turns out, she was playing herself. Hi everyone, and welcome back. Thanks for joining us today. We've got a brand new story to share with you, so let's begin. My name is Daniel, and if you had asked me a year ago, I would have told you I had a great marriage. I believed in us, and I thought we were solid. For the last few years, my focus has been on building our future. I had a business that was finally taking off, and I was expanding it to new cities. That meant a lot of travel, sometimes days, sometimes weeks at a time. But I did it for us. I thought it was worth it. But life has a funny way of knocking you flat on your back just when you think everything is going according to plan. The day my world fell apart, the truth came to me on its own. And when it did, it hit me harder than I ever thought possible. I was away on a trip, and it has been going well. Business meetings were productive. Deals were being finalized. And I was already thinking of coming home to spend time with my beautiful wife. I was exhausted but satisfied, knowing that every long hour I put into this business was meant to secure a better future. Then my phone rang that afternoon. It was Mark, a longtime friend, but his voice sounded different. Hesitant, uneasy. But then he spoke, and everything changed. "Daniel, listen, man, I wasn't sure if I should even call you, but I can't keep this to myself. I just saw Sophia coming out of a hotel with another man." For a few seconds, I said nothing. My mind struggled to process what I had just heard. Maybe I misheard him. Maybe there was some kind of mistake. But Mark wasn't the type to joke about something like this. "I took photos, Daniel. I didn't know if I should, but I had a bad feeling. I'll send them to you now." A moment later, my phone buzzed. My fingers felt stiff as I opened the message. And there was Sophia, my wife, stepping out of a hotel lobby. She wasn't alone. Some guy was right beside her. I still didn't react. I didn't call to yell at her. I just stood there, staring at the images on my screen. The truth was staring me in the face, but part of me still wanted to believe there was another explanation. "Daniel, you there?" Mark's voice pulled me back. "Yeah, I'm here," I answered, forcing myself to sound calm. "Man, I didn't want to be the one to tell you this, but you needed to know." I nodded to myself, though he couldn't see me. I wasn't angry at Mark. If anything, I was grateful. He didn't know me this, but he did it anyway. And deep down, I knew he was right. I needed to know. But now that I did, what the hell was I supposed to do with it? I got back earlier than planned. I didn't call ahead and didn't send a text. Just walked through the front door. Sophia was in the kitchen, humming softly and chopping vegetables. She turned, saw me, and smiled. "How was your trip?" Her voice was light. I forced myself to stay calm. I gave her a nod, pretending everything was normal, answering her casually. I watched her move around the kitchen. I let her talk, waiting for the right moment. Then, when she least expected it, I said it. "Unlock your phone." The room fell silent. The air grew thick, heavy with unspoken tension. Her smile faltered, but she recovered quickly, forcing out a small laugh. "What? Why?" She tried to make it sound playful, but I saw the way her fingers twitched. I didn't answer, just looked at her, waiting, watching. She shook her head. "Daniel, come on, this is ridiculous." "Unlock it." My voice was calm and steady. No anger, just a demand. She crossed her arms, forcing out another nervous laugh. "You don't trust me? After all these years?" I didn't argue. I reached over, grabbed her phone, and held it up between us. Her face drained of color. "Unlock it now, or I swear, I'm walking out that door and never looking back." For a moment, she didn't move. She stared at me, searching for an escape. But there wasn't one. She knew it. I knew it. Her hands trembled as she took the phone from me, her fingers hesitating over the screen. Then, finally, she gave in. The lock screen disappeared. The first thing I saw was a string of unread messages, some from a saved contact, others from an unknown number. I clicked one, then another, then another. It was all there. Explicit texts, photos, videos. Things I never imagined my wife sending to another man. The heartbreaking part is that my wife sometimes sends me photos of herself. Some of them explicitly remind me of what I have at home. I found out she also sent them to this other man. I scrolled through hotel reservations, late-night chats, and messages about meeting up while I was away working. Detailed conversations about me. How she thought I was too busy, too distracted with my business to notice anything. How she could do what she wanted because I trusted her too much. The words blurred for a second, but I didn't stop reading. I sat down because I needed to see it all, to know exactly who she was when I wasn't looking. Sophia collapsed onto the couch, sobbing, clutching her face as she cried, as if the guilt was suddenly too much to bear. "I'm sorry. I was lonely. You're never home, Daniel. I just... Her words came out in gasps, broken between sobs. "I didn't mean for it to happen. I love you. Please, just let me explain." But I didn't react the way she expected. Without a word, I took screenshots and transferred the files to myself. Then, just as calmly as I had asked her to unlock the phone, I set it back on the table. I met her tear-filled gaze, my voice colder than I had ever heard it. "I don't need to hear your excuses." Then I stood up, walked past her shaking frame, entered our bedroom and started packing some of the things I didn't pick along for the previous trip. My clothes, my documents, everything important, everything I needed to walk out that door and never look back. I moved into a temporary apartment, blocked her number, and cut off all contact. If she had anything to say, she could say it through my lawyer. I called my lawyer to file the divorce papers. Immediately. And that was the difference between us. She acted on impulse, driven by selfishness and recklessness. I acted with purpose, with clarity. Everything was handled through legal channels. I refused to sit across from her in some meeting, pretending there was anything left to talk about. My lawyer was clear. No mediation, no drawn-out, emotional manipulation, no unnecessary discussions. Just a clean break. And, for the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. The pain didn't disappear overnight. I didn't wake up the next morning suddenly free of everything I had just lost. But I had a choice: sit in my misery, or turn it into something useful. I chose the latter. I threw myself into my business, with a relentless focus. The expansion I had planned? I made it happen, and I did it fast. I didn't just move cities. I rebranded my entire life. Day by day, the weight of what happened lessened. I wasn't healing because of time. I was healing because I chose to. Months passed, and I looked in the mirror one morning and barely recognized the man staring back at me. Stronger, smarter, wealthier. By then, the divorce was almost concluded. It took long because she wanted more than I was willing to give. And the best part? I didn't feel anything for her anymore. No anger. No sadness. No love. Just indifference. And indifference, my friends, is the best revenge of all. After months of silence, rebuilding my life from the ground up in another city, and finally learning how to breathe without the weight of betrayal crushing my chest, she came back. It was late, well past dinner. I had just wrapped up work, already looking forward to a hot shower and some sleep, when I heard a knock at the door. I wasn't expecting anyone. For a second I considered ignoring it, but something in me said to check. So, I pulled open the door and there she was. Sophia. She stood there in the dim porch light, eyes red-rimmed and swollen, tears streaking her face. But that wasn't what threw me off. It was her stomach. Round, heavy, pregnant. For a few seconds, neither of us spoke. I just stared, my mind blank, my body frozen. And then she broke down completely. Through sobs and hiccups, she told me she had made a mistake. That she had spent months crying herself to sleep, haunted by guilt, missing me, wishing she could take everything back. She swore she never stopped loving me. She was so lost and confused that she let loneliness push her into making stupid choices. And then, the final blow. "Daniel, this is your baby." She said it like a lifeline, like she truly believed those words would pull me back to her. She wanted another chance. She wanted us to be a family again. She promised that this time, she would be faithful. That she had changed. I stood there, listening, watching. And for a brief second, I almost felt sorry for her. But then I reminded myself why she was standing here in the first place. She wasn't here because she loved me. She wasn't here because she regretted hurting me. She was here because she needed something. I let her finish. Let her pour out every apology, every promise, every carefully crafted line meant to pull at my heartstrings. And when she finally stopped, looking up at me with hopeful, teary eyes, I simply nodded and said, "All right, let's get a DNA test." The second those words left my mouth, her entire face changed. The tears stopped. The panic set in. "What?" She let out a nervous laugh, shaking her head. "Daniel, how could you even ask me that? You think I would lie about something like this?" I didn't answer. I just looked at her, waiting. She kept talking. accusing me of being cruel, saying I was punishing her for the past, that I should trust her, that I had always trusted her before, that asking for a test was an insult, an attack, proof that I never really loved her in the first place. And right then and there, I knew. I saw right through her. If she had nothing to hide, she wouldn't be so afraid. If she was certain this child was mine, she would have agreed in an instant. But she didn't. She fought it. I took a deep breath, stepped back, and rested my hand on the door. If you won't take the test, I said, my voice calm, I have nothing to say to you. And then, without waiting for another word, I closed the door in her face. I thought I had seen the worst of Sophia's deceit, but I was wrong. Months after I sent her away, after I made it clear that I wanted nothing to do with her or her so-called pregnancy, she decided to take things even further. Out of nowhere, I was served with a lawsuit. She was taking me to court, claiming that I was abandoning my child. The same child she had refused to take a DNA test for. The irony wasn't lost on me. Sophia painted herself as the ultimate victim. She told the court how I had cruelly walked out on her when she needed me the most. How I had refused to take responsibility, leaving her to suffer. It was a well-crafted sob story, I'll give her that. She cried, she sniffled, and she played her part perfectly. To someone who didn't know better, she looked like a woman who had been betrayed. A woman who had loved too deeply and been abandoned by the man she trusted. But there was one problem: she was lying. What she didn't realize was that I was no longer the man she had once manipulated. I had the money, the resources, and most importantly, the will to fight back. So, I did what any man in my position would do. I hired the best lawyers in the city. These weren't just any lawyers. These were professionals who had built their careers on tearing apart manipulative spouses in court. And Sophia? She was just another case for them. The trial was brutal. My legal team wasted no time dismantling her entire case. They brought out every piece of evidence: her affairs, her refusal to take the DNA test, her blatant attempts at extortion. They exposed how she had tried to manipulate the legal system, twisting the narrative to make herself look like the victim when in reality, she had been the one who destroyed our marriage. Every lie she told was countered with hard facts. Every dramatic performance was met with undeniable truth. By the time my lawyers were done, there was no doubt about who Sophia really was. The courtroom that had once been filled with sympathetic whispers about the abandoned pregnant woman was now filled with hushed murmurs about her deceit. She had no defense, no way to justify her actions. She had come to court hoping to ruin me, but in the end, she had only ruined herself. The judge didn't just rule in my favor, he went a step further. A cease and desist order was issued against her, forbidding her from contacting me in any way. She had lost publicly, and there was no coming back from this. As I walked out of that courtroom, I reflected on everything. I had once pitied her when she came to my doorstep, pleading for another chance. But after everything she had done, after all the lies, the manipulation, and the sheer audacity to take me to court over a child she wouldn't even prove was mine, I was just glad I never let her back into my life. At the end of the day, this whole experience taught me one thing: never let guilt or manipulation make you question your worth. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. I ignored the warning signs, I trusted blindly, and I paid the price. But when I finally walked away, I didn't look back. And that was the best decision I ever made. If you ever find yourself in a situation like this, where someone is trying to guilt trip you, manipulate you, or use their own mistakes to make you feel responsible, stand your ground. Protect yourself. Because some people don't come back out of love, they come back out of desperation. And if you let them in, they'll destroy you all over again. But what do you guys think? If you were in my position, would you have handled it the same way? Or do you think I should have given her another chance? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your perspective. And if you made it to the end of this video, I just want to say thank you. I appreciate you taking the time to listen to my story. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories like this. It really helps out the channel and keeps the content coming. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.